Welcome to Loco Gringo, Mexico, the place where we transform a tourist into a traveler, because you deserve to see more of the world than just what's in a guidebook. Each week, we talk with amazing locals who know the Riviera Maya and Yucatan like only a local can, and get them to share their tips and insights on the local scene, culture, and cuisine from a local's perspective. So, pour yourself a margarita, grab a comfy chair, and let's get the show going.
Hello, everybody. This is Kay Walton. So glad to have you with us today. But we're going to speak to someone who puts his heart and soul in everything he does. And he tells an amazing story of his journey to the Riviera Maya when his heart and soul was in diving. And you can hear about his travels. And now his heart and soul is being the founder and the primary shooter of visual media productions. He does wedding photography and videography, and he has some amazing stories, very funny stories, you'll laugh, I did, about shooting weddings, and definitely gives you a different perspective than maybe what you might hear from a bride. So he is going to share some stories with us. He's going to share some tips for brides that you can use no matter where you're getting married, whether you're getting married at home or having a destination wedding, preferably here in the Riviera Maya. And he's also going to give us some tips on some great little eateries in Playa del Carmen that you don't want to miss on your next trip down to the area. Well, Ken, good morning. I have to tell you, I can't believe you've been in Playa del Carmen since 1996 and our paths have not crossed. What's up with that?
It's crazy. I mean, Playa was such a small town when we got here. I'm sure if I saw you on the street, I would recognize you and you'd recognize me to be one of those people that we know but we don't know, but we know they're part of the Playa fabric, you know? I'm sure that would be it.
I'm sure that would be it, but I think, I don't know if you'd recognize me. I'm a little bit older than I was back then.
Yeah, well, when I got to Playa, I was about 28, and now I'm 48 almost. So wow. I don't know how that happened.
I don't know. And actually, I think, and it's, it's the number of kilometers or the mileage, not the number of years?
Well, I think we tend to look a lot better than people who stay up in the north and freeze and look gray and
Hey, a tan makes everybody look good.
Exactly.
So, Ken, tell me how you came from Canada. Where in Canada did you come from?
Well, I was born in Windsor, which is right near Detroit, yeah?
Yep.
But my family moved closer to Toronto when I was about 12 years old or something. But I guess the journey started, I blame my parents. We were snowbirds, so every year pretty much we would go to Florida. Either fly or mostly drive with a trailer pulled behind. And I never wanted to go back. I never wanted to go back to the cold. I started snorkeling as a really, really, really young kid. And I would just go down and spend 2 weeks in the water and be brown as a berry, as my mom would say. And then I never wanted to go back to Canada. And right after college, I became a scuba instructor. And that was my ticket to the Caribbean. So I left Canada in 93. Yeah, 93, I left Canada, and I started working my way around the Caribbean. I went to Asia and Australia and ended up in Mexico and just got stuck.
It does it. It gets your hooks in you, and none of us can ever leave.
Got stuck. Yeah, it was like 8 countries in 4 years, and then boom, I'm in Mexico. Yeah.
That's amazing. So did you work in diving then when you first came here?
I did. I started off as an instructor in Mexico. Well, not started working as an instructor in Mexico, but when I got to Mexico, I was working as an instructor. And then that turned into underwater photography, which turned into underwater video, which turned into land video and weddings and promotional videos and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Now I can see, because you know, as I was looking at your website, visual media productions, and we'll have that at the end of the show for people who want to click over. But as I was looking at your website, I see this beautiful bride, and I'm like kind of scratching my head going, how did Ken wind up shooting brides?
It just, you know, like I said, I was doing underwater video mostly. I was on the boats every day, filming the tourists and filming the divers and selling the videos. And then one of the wedding coordinators in Playa asked me to do a wedding. And then another one, and then another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. And it seemed like, I mean, I was always happy being a diving instructor, but when I started working weddings, something just clicked. Just appealed to, I don't know, just appealed to my nature. I think that I'm really well suited, and people who know me just roll their eyes when I talk about love and I post about love. And my parents were married for 59 years.
Wow.
I grew up surrounded by love, and it just fits me. It fits me really, really well.
Well, that explains a little bit, because I was going to ask you is that you're the creative heart and soul behind visual media productions. And I didn't get that, because, most guys are kind of, especially if you're coming out of diving, we're kind of macho and stuff like that. And here you're the heart and soul. It kind of like, I kind of want to go, oh, that's sweet.
I am an absolute believer in love. I'm single, unfortunately, but I'm an absolute believer in love. And to be there, to share that moment, those moments with couples, it's awesome. I mean, not every wedding is awesome. Sometimes there's a bit weird energy, but generally 90% of the time, it's just fantastic. You're there on one of the best days of their life, and you get to chronicle it all and be part of it and spend time with the bride, getting ready with your girls, and the makeup and the hair, and they're nervous and they're laughing and they're crying and they're giggling and their fingers are twitching and their toes are tapping, and it's just fantastic. It's just awesome. I mean, my assistants, I work with some really great girls. I like to work with a female assistant. I think the dynamic works better for me. And they are the same. We're half the time we're bawling our eyes out doing their vows, and there's speeches that are just so moving, and you have performances where the bridesmaids sing for the couple, and it's just awesome. I mean, it's a privilege.
Wow, I never, I know a lot of photographers in lots of destinations, and I've never quite heard it with such passion and heartfelt openness about it. And on that emotional side, a lot of it's just like, more people are more technical on it if you talk to a photographer, and it's really interesting to hear you talk about how you feel to be part of someone's very special day like that.
I feel really lucky. I filmed a wedding that comes to mind. It was actually a Mrs. wedding in Cancun, I think last year, the year before. And at the end of the reception, a few of the people, the couple of the bridesmaids and the groomsmen, but for the other bride, came out and they started singing. And then the one of the brides came out and did a solo for her wife. And I look over at my assistant, and tears are streaming down her face.
Oh.
And she mouths over to me, "My boyfriend doesn't love me like that." It was awesome. It was awesome. Really, it's just a privilege. It's a privilege to be witness and part of all that love. It's just awesome.
I'm kind of like giddy hearing about it. It's really a wonderful thing to hear, because, I tend to sometimes hear from wedding planners about the Bridezillas of the world, because I know some women can be it can be a little stressful for those ladies.
It can. And I've had a couple of those, but I've also, because of my past with diving, basically I've been working with tourists for 50% of my life. And I'm really good at lightening the mood. And it's not the Ken show. I mean, I'm always aware it's not the Ken show. But when things are tense, I'm really good at lightening the mood, getting a laugh when it's needed, getting the bride out of her own head when it's necessary. I'm really good at that.
That's
I've
a great
been told
skill.
by one bride that I literally saved her wedding.
That's an incredible skill to have, because it could very sometimes, if you don't know how to save the day, sometimes it can just. I've heard of some horror stories. Sometimes it's just and things sometimes don't go right, and so you need, especially in Mexico, because there's some things we can't control, like the weather sometimes. And
the weather.
The weather. Yeah, we get a rainy day every now and again. But it's nice to be able to have those types of skills to be able to really help people get through. So really one of the most stressful times of their life, and that I think it ranks right up there. I think there was a list on some newspaper or something about the top 10 things, and getting married is a stressor for sure.
Yeah, probably one of the top 10, I'm sure, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, in the end, it doesn't matter if the food was a little cold or it rained a little bit. Well, we don't want it to rain. That's a bummer. But it doesn't matter. It's your wedding. It's your wedding, and you're going to remember that for the rest of your life. So, I don't know, try to relax, try to not be in your head. And some brides are just an absolute joy. You can see them. It's like they're walking 3 feet off the ground. They're so happy. And that's just the best. That's just the best when you have those brides like that. And I've had a couple of Bridezillas, but never a mean one, never one that was mean to me or to my assistants or to the photographers. Sometimes there's something going on in the group. There's something going on. You don't really know what it is, but you can feel a tension. And sometimes the brides have a little bit of a pinched face, which is bad. And we had, I had one bride comes to mind. She was lovely. She was really young. They were a really, really young couple. I don't know, 23, 24, something like that. And getting married in a huge resort, Moon Palace, which is one of the biggest resorts here. It's like just massive. If people don't know there's 3 separate lobbies that you actually take a bus between them. It's just ridiculous. It's so big. And we were doing what we call a first look. And the first look is before the ceremony. The bride's in her dress, the groom's in his attire, whatever his tuxedo or his suit or his whatever he's wearing. And we usually have the groom facing away. And we have at the Moon Palace where the beach is, there's like a wall. So the hotel is a bit raised, maybe 10 feet over the beach. So there's a short wall, maybe 3 feet high, that runs parallel to the beach. And we had the groom standing on this little wall. So the ocean's to his side. And the bride walks up behind him and taps him on the shoulder, and he turns around and he gets to see her in her dress for the first time without anybody else around except for the photographers and us. And people are walking around. It's a huge hotel. People are walking around in sort of, stopping and gawking and taking pictures. And the bride went crazy. She was screaming at them, "Stop taking my picture. This is my wedding. This is my husband." It was hilarious. After the wedding, that didn't make the final cut on the video, by the way, but I did send that little clip to the bride, and she laughed and was a little embarrassed, but laughed about it. Couldn't believe that was her.
Well, this begs the question is, with so much love in your heart and love for what you do, what are some tips that you have for brides when it comes to, doing a destination wedding and something as important as photography and video and that? Can you have some tips to share? Absolutely.
I mean, a couple of small things for sure. When they're doing their first dance, I know that sometimes the dresses are a bit tight and it's hard to turn, but nothing is more frustrating than when the bride and groom just sort of stand there and rock back and forth and don't really turn. But then you have the same angle. Even if we keep moving around, it's better if they actually move when they're dancing. It doesn't have to be, Ziegfeld Follies. It doesn't have to be a big choreographed number, but it's nice if they actually move. That's lovely. Mm-hmm. When the bride and groom are announced husband and wife and they have that first kiss and they turn and they triumphantly walk back down the aisle, sometimes the bride and groom tend to look down. And I think what it is just so overwhelming that they're a little bit overwhelmed. And instead of looking up and smiling, they're kind of looking at their feet. And that's really sad for me. I like when they're just triumphant and glorious, happy, and the smiles are pouring out of them. And that's the best. And I would say the most important thing, my best advice or my most important advice for brides is don't be in your head too much. Take a breath, really feel what's going on, really take it all in, and don't be inside your head on your phone worrying about the schedule, and don't be worrying if the food's going to be on time or the flowers are going to get here. It'll all work out. I always tell brides, they always worried about being late. I said, when you wear that dress, you're not late. You can't be late when you're wearing that dress. Everybody waits for you. So just relax, enjoy your time with your girls when you're doing hair and makeup. The boys will take care of themselves. Nobody cares about the boys anyway. Doesn't matter. Just, don't worry about them. They'll be there. As long as they show up, everything's fine. Usually they're in their underwear until 20 minutes before the ceremony, the boys. The bride's getting ready for 4 hours and the boys are in their underwear at 10 minutes too. Just enjoy it and take it all in and take a deep breath every once in a while. That's my best advice to brides.
Absolutely great tips, Ken. Wow. I'm loving this. I'm really just laughing because you just absolutely are a great storyteller and how you share these experiences, because I really can get a picture in my head, and I'm sure our listeners can kind of just imagine in their mind's eye some of these things happening, like the groomsmen in their underwear until about 20 minutes before the show,
for sure.
or before the ceremony. Very funny. What keeps you here? I mean, what keeps you here in the Riviera Maya? Do you have other passions aside from photography? Do you still dive? What keeps that energy and everything, to keep the Riviera Maya hooks in you and you're not off gallivanting to some other location?
Oh, the Mexican people. I mean, you've been here longer than me. The Mexican people are just, they're so warm, and they're so, when Mexicans say mi casa su casa, my house is your house, they really mean it. They're so warm, they're so welcoming. The women are beautiful. I love the Mexican women. It's just, the climate is great. It's a bit hot in the summer, as you know, but like this time of year right now, it's just perfect, isn't it? This is the best time of year for me. The sky is always blue. It's not hot. It's hot for some people. It's not hot for us.
No, it's not.
That's for sure. And the nights are nice and cool for sleeping. You can sleep in a little bit because it's not so hot in the morning. You don't wake up all sweaty and nasty. It's great. I love it. I love Mexico. I love the nature. I mean, the beaches are beautiful. I don't spend a lot of time on the beaches, but we have the cenotes. And if your listeners don't know what a cenote is, it's like a really, really pretty sinkhole, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The culture's great. The food is fantastic. When I go to Canada to visit, I always miss the food. I mean, Taco Bell just does not cut it.
Oh, absolutely not. Well, and fish and chips in Canada, I don't think would taste the same if you put hot sauce, if you put habanero sauce on it. I just don't think it would be the same flair as it tastes when you have a fish taco down here.
No. Well, back home we put malt vinegar on them.
I know. I'm from from Western New York, so very familiar with malt vinegar on my French fries.
Yeah, for sure.
So, aside from the Riviera Maya, I know you've traveled a lot around the world in your dive career. Have you traveled in other places here in Mexico and found any places that really kind of tickle your fancy?
Well, I love Chiapas. Chiapas is fantastic. I haven't seen that much Mexico. I drove down about 10 years ago. I flew up to Canada. I bought a car and I drove down. That was a really nice trip. But as far as this area, one of the things I like the most in this area is Bacalar.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, Bacalar is fantastic. I mean, they call it the Lagoon of Seven Colors for a really good reason. It's so pretty. I try to make it down there a couple times a year. It's not that far. It's a bit of a drive, but it's not that far. And it's so pretty and so relaxed and so laid back down there. I'm a very relaxed, laid back kind of guy. I've been doing this sort of beach life for, like I said, 50% of my life, basically. And, I don't like the stress. I like the calm, and I'm an emotional guy, but I'm not an angry guy. I'm a very calm, very sweet guy, I think.
Oh, yeah. I'd say.
I don't know why I just called myself sweet. What's a more manly word for sweet? Where did that come from? Where's my mom? I'm channeling my mom. You're a sweet boy, Kenny. Yeah.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. So when you have time off, aside from Laguna Bacalar, which is an absolutely fabulous place, and I encourage everybody to check it out on their travels around the Yucatan Peninsula, do you have any other secret spots that you go, whether it's a taco place or a cenote? You get time off and you just want to kind of get away from it all. But I'm looking for places that when people come down here, they have the opportunity to visit them themselves, as opposed to going out on some big tour or just staying at a hotel. Got any secret spots you can share with us?
Well, as far as tacos, what just popped into my head is it's not really tacos, is it? But Pirata, the little fish place. It's over on 40th, I think. Like 40th or 42nd. That's my go-to spot when I'm in the mood for some fish. That's my go-to spot for sure. The ceviche there is it's crazy how much shrimp you get for $10 is just out of this world, and I love that place. Today I'm actually having lunch at another fish place called Hijos de los Tostadas, I think it's called. Yeah, that's what it's called, right?
Was it
Going
Hijos
there for
de
lunch
las
today.
Cascadas?
Hijo de los Tostadas. It's like the
De
son
los
of Tostada.
Tostadas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Going there today. That's a great place. But you're looking at more like places away to go away. I mostly stay in Playa. I mean, I go to Tulum. Mm-hmm. We used to camp in Tulum in the old days. When I first got here, we used to be able to go down and pay $5 to put a tent on the beach. You can't do that anymore in Tulum, but
no.
It's still a really pretty place, and the beach is gorgeous down there.
Absolutely. Now, where in Playa do you hang out when you're not working? Any favorite spots in Playa?
I would say everybody has like a Cheers bar, a home bar. For me, it's La Rana Cansada.
Yeah,
it's in their 10 and 10. And I know the owners. I remember when they were open for their first year anniversary, I couldn't believe I hadn't been there more than 365 times. It's like it's just been home. I don't go out as much as I used to. At this age, I think maybe we slow down a bit. But when I go out, I always feel home there. I always feel at home. The owners are friends. The general manager is one of my best friends, and it's a place where I even have business meetings there. I meet clients there. I feel so comfortable. The vibe is so buena onda, as we say, like good vibe. Mm-hmm. And for me, La Rana Cansada is the best place.
Yeah, La Rana. And I forget about that. We used to have an office right on 10th Avenue, and the Rana was just around the corner. Those old days. But it's great to see that.
Those were great days.
But it's nice to see places like the Rana still around. And
it is. Yeah, it's one of the oldest. I think it's one of the oldest original hotels. It hasn't changed much. It's been there for, it's a hotel bar, right? But it's been there for, almost 20 years, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it was there. Well, we moved our office up to Playa. It must have been in 1999, 2000.
Yeah.
And the Rana was there, and Babes had just opened up. Babes and Noodles.
Yeah. Other great friends of mine and clients. I've made I don't know how many promotional videos for Babes over the years. I mean, on YouTube, there's about 7 of them. I've made them over the last 10 or 15 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Another great eatery for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Ken, I wanted to get from you some of the best places people can reach out to you to say hi, get more information, learn about your services. How can they find you?
Well, I mean, Facebook is really easy. My name is Ken Brownlee, but I also have a couple of Facebook business pages. I have one, my name and my company. When I started my company here, I wasn't focused as much on weddings. I think we talked about that.
Yep.
So the name that I came up with was Visual Media Productions, which I think is a great name, but it's not really very wedding focused. Mm-hmm. So I have a Facebook business page that's Cancun Wedding Videos. Okay. So that's one way you can find me. That's probably the easiest way. Or visualmediaproductions.info.
All right. Excellent. Well, we'll make sure to have links over from our show notes today on Loco Gringo to you can just be able to our listeners can just click over. You can find Ken, and of course, you can always email me, askk@locogringo.com, and of course, I'll hook you up with Ken right away. And Ken, we now have to. It's now over 20 years, and we're going to have to meet for a beer.
That's a good one. Why not La Rana Cansada?
we could go to the Rana and have a beer. I can't believe that we've both been around this long and our paths have not crossed, at least that we're aware of. But as you said, we may see each other and go, oh my God, especially because I was diving too.
Oh, really?
I started diving I ran the dive concession at the first all-inclusive resort in Playa Car.
Wow. I used to have the contract to do underwater video at a couple of the Ryus and the, what was the one between the Ryus? I can't remember what it was called, but I used to have guys on the boats all the time. I mean, I did it myself, but I had a crew of divers making videos for me out there. That's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy that we've never met. I'm sure we'd recognize each other. I'm sure we would.
Absolutely. Well, let's make a plan to get together and meet at the Rana for we'll have a business brew. And
yeah, that's a good idea.
we can talk about some of the people who aren't with us anymore. They've moved on, and some of the great folks that are still around and everything. But I really want to thank you for your time today, and it's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Kay. I really appreciate the opportunity. It's been really lovely chatting with you.
If you'd like more information on how to reach Ken and links over to his Facebook pages and website, please visit today's show notes at locogringo.com/podcasts. And before you go, just a reminder that if you have any questions, you have some suggestions of people you'd love us to speak with, you can always drop me an email, sk@locogringo.com.
Thanks for listening. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe. For links, show notes, and more information, head on over to locogringo.com or give us a call toll-free at 800-478-0081.
Porque se tragó la luna, estaba enferma la rana. Su madre soba que soba, dedos de pluma la panza. Pensó ranita que luna era una toronja blanca. Y aunque la luna es de leche, la leche estaba cortada. Croa, croa, dedos de pluma. Croa, croa, dedos de agua. Croa, croa.